77% of you are unsubscribed. Please hit the subscribe link below. So this video is entitled Persecuted for Being a Christian. Now, there are parts of the world where persecution is happening for people's beliefs. So they are a Christian, and because they're a Christian, they're getting killed or tortured or kicked out of the country or lose their job, or that is happening, and it is because they're a Christian. But what I've noticed as a trend, particularly in the US, although I've seen it in Canada as well, and I've seen articles elsewhere in the world as well, but I'm going to focus on the US because I've been seeing it a lot, and a lot of Christian YouTubers are jumping on this and going, look at this, it's biblical persecution against Christians. And when you look deeper into the story, you find the real guts. So one of the recent ones that I actually came across yesterday, because one of the Christian YouTubers posted about it, was about this teacher and she was working at a school, and at that school there are rules about privacy. You need to keep, when a student talks to you in confidence as someone trusted to talk to about something, then you shouldn't automatically go to their parents and say, here's all the dirt about your child. So in this particular case, it was related to transgender. And I think as soon as I say the word transgender, now all the Christians are going to go, oh, but it's because she has a belief in transgender, and it must be because she's a Christian, because Christians believe in that belief of transgender, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay? So, there you go. I just set out the Lord Love a Duck thing too. Okay? So you've got that. Now that you've got that Lord Love a Duck thing, you're in your little panic, and so maybe you as a Christian, maybe will not listen to the rest of the video. We will see. So if my stats all of a sudden go down at 240, then we know exactly where Christians are on this. But as a Christian, I will discern and look at things and say, hey, why did she get fired? Well, she got fired because she broke privacy and confidence with a student. All right? It's different if you're under mandate to, hey, this student is suicidal, or he's thinking of killing other kids, or then in that case, the law says that you need to break privacy and you need to do something about it. But if a child comes to you and is saying, here's some of the struggles that I'm going through. I'm having issues with, my mental health, or choosing what courses I'm going to do, or, I'm having trouble because, in this case, the Lord Love a Duck thing. Okay, so the point being, right, if you're breaking that student's privacy, they're not going to come to you for help. They're going to be afraid to come for help. And, I experienced this recently in the adult community where, when you reach out for help, instead of helping you, instead of taking the time to help you, they actually will start telling other people, and other people then won't hire you, and all of that stuff. But it's not, they're not wanting to hire me because I'm a Christian. They're not wanting to hire me because of mental health concerns. And in this case, the article specifically said that it wasn't that it was she initially was saying, hey, I didn't want to lie. I didn't want to lie. But you not disclosing information to a person is not lying. If the parent said to you, I'm having concerns, I think my child is transitioning, and then you say to them, yes, I can confirm that, then you're telling the truth. If the parent didn't ask you for that information and you specifically called them and said, hey, by the way, your kid is transitioning, then you're not. Then it's not a problem of lying. You proactively went and told on that person. You particularly broke trust. Now, in the article, because all I have is the article, I don't know the teacher, I don't know the school, but in the article, she specifically talks about transgender and how it's, a demon state and all of that kind of stuff. So the problem here wasn't lying, it was that she didn't like the idea that that child was transitioning. And therefore, she decided it was in her best interest to persecute the child by telling her parents. So it's kind of ironic that she thinks that, she's being persecuted for being a Christian, and they fired her for her being a Christian. But she tormented that child. That child trusted her. That child, trusted that in confidence that she would be, helpful, that she would be supportive, not necessarily of the transgender, but of the child's feelings. I mean, you're a teacher. You need to be caring about your students. And I think that's really what it boils down to there. Now, this is one story, but I mean, there's been multiple others about, I'll give an instance of another country because you're going to think it's US only. So, a few months ago in the UK, there was a whole thing about that lady that was outside of a abortion clinic, and she was simply praying at the clinic. There's a boundary around that clinic because there has been previous violence at that clinic with the specific abortion group where they've been stopping people from going in, pushing people out of the way, and so there was a little bit of a problem there. So because of that, they had created a barrier so that it is safer for people that are trying to make use of that service. Now, that service is something that particular protest group didn't like, but, they needed to have protection there. And I think as Christians, if someone was attacking our church, we would want a perimeter and protection around our church so that we were safe to go in and go to mosque, to service, or for a Muslim, mosque, right? Or whatever religion you are, your particular type of service, right? So you would want that kind of protection, but then when it's offered to others, you complain. Now, they were saying, well, it's because she was praying. But the thing is, they knew exactly who she was on the surveillance when they came up and talked to her. She was the leader of that group, that protest group that had been violent. So yes, in this case, she was going quietly and praying, but based on prior experience with the group that she leads, they were worried, and that law is there to say don't go that close. So don't go that close. Pray further away. You can still pray. Prayer still works, regardless of whether you're right beside the thing you're praying for, or you're at home in bed and you're praying. Prayer isn't related to a building that you're in. You don't have to be in church to pray. You can pray anywhere. That's why we got the Holy Spirit, right? We've got a direct connection to God. No need for a medium. Okay, so now on to another one. This one in Canada. This one is actually a big one. And this one here is going to flag a lot of people because people are going to be like, well, I'm going to say Freedom Convoy. So, Freedom Convoy, you have lots of Christians in front of it praying, bringing their kids to a big protest, all of that stuff. Now, these people in this protest, when they were in Ottawa, they blocked the hospital. They blocked people from going into the hospital. And then they turned around and said, hey, oh, you're discriminating against us because we're Christians. We're Christians and we're asking for our freedom. And we're Christians and look, we're praying in our freedom. But the thing is, they were blocking hospitals. They weren't allowing patients to go in because they felt that they were being discriminated against because of, being forced to take vaccines and forced to wear masks. But, then they turn around and say, hey, you're wearing a mask, get that mask off. So now you're persecuting people wearing masks. Okay, so these are 3 examples of different extremes of Christians persecuting other people, being hurtful to other people, and then saying, poor me as a Christian, you're persecuting me. So the point of this is, Christians, you need to do better. You can protest. You can, go through legitimate channels to complain about a rule or something that you don't like. But when you break the rule just for the sake of breaking the rule, and then say, oh, now you're persecuting me for breaking the rule because I'm a Christian, that's problematic. Now I'm going to give another hypothetical example here. Say you were racing home, there was a fire in your house, and the people were inside. You decided you were going to race home in order to be able to help put out the fire and all of that stuff. You're speeding, you run through a red light, you hit someone, and they die. They die from the accident that you're in. Now, if you get charged with dangerous driving, if you get charged with running a red light, if you get charged with, killing somebody, are you going to say, well, oh, you're discriminating against people that have fires in their homes? Or are you going to be saying, oh, well, you know what? I feel so bad because I shouldn't have been speeding and I shouldn't have been doing those things. You could phone the fire department, and the fire department can come, and they can help put out a fire. Okay? And then you can drive home at decent pace, following the speed limit. I mean, you can be maxing out the speed limit. You can be doing, 5 or 10 over. If you hit a red light, stop at the red light, then continue on. But I think that, we look at these things and say, we don't like these rules. As Christians, we don't like these rules. They don't follow our belief. So we're just not going to follow them. And I think that's not something that Jesus taught, right? I mean, he taught to give the taxes to Caesar. So if you owe money to taxes, then you pay, right? He taught to submit to government because all of government is put in place by God. That doesn't mean that you can't complain about the rules. It doesn't mean that you can't go through proper legal process to get the rules changed. It means that if a law is in place currently saying stay X amount of, distance away from certain buildings, then do it. If you're not allowed to run a red light, don't run the red light. If you think that the rules regarding red lights should change, then fight the rules against red lights. But breaking the rules just for the sake of breaking the rules is not very Christian-like, and something that needs to be dealt with in your mind. So hopefully the Holy Spirit will work through you on this and the various trigger points that I've made through the video, Freedom Convoy, transgender, those trigger words. Hopefully you get past those and you actually look at the logic of the situation and, realize that, we're not being persecuted for being a Christian in those situations. We're being persecuted because we're breaking the law. Should you follow the law? Yes. If you disagree with the law, what should you do? Have a peaceful protest. Yes. Go through legal channels to help get that law changed. Yes. Create a violent protest where you're mocking and blocking people from doing things that they need to do in their life. Maybe not. If nobody's listening from other channels and you need to have a bigger protest, then have a bigger protest. But, as a lot of the bigger protests that I've been seeing that have been doing that turn into these violent things, and then it just makes you yourself look like, you're a terrible person. The Freedom Convoy protest, there was the Nazi flags, and those people all showed up. And the people that were there didn't say anything about that. When they were talking to the news, they were talking about their protest. They knew that the flags were there. The flag was flying in the background while they were having their talk with the news. They didn't turn around and say, "You with the Nazi flag, get the hell out of here. This isn't your protest." They didn't do that. They were like, "Whoa, we're getting more people here. We're going to accept the more people." And then later they went, "Oh, wow, those were just other people that were there." Or, "Oh, you know what? Those people were planted." Or, "Those people are," and it's like, come on, you're in control of your protest. Control your protest. If your protest isn't working, then shut it down. All right. But the main thing here is, as Christians, are we persecuted? Yes, in some countries we are persecuted. Are we persecuted in North America? Yeah, sometimes. But, are we calling wolf sometimes? More often now we're hearing the cry wolf, where it's like, I'm being persecuted because I'm a Christian. And then when you dig into it, it's something else. And what that does is it means that when it comes time that we are being persecuted because we are Christians, people are going to see the headlines and go, "Oh, it's another one of those things." They're not being persecuted because they're a Christian. They're being persecuted because they broke a law. And it's the boy that cried wolf, right? You cry wolf too many times, and then the wolf can come and no one's going to do anything. So as Christians, we need to do better, because we need to not be crying wolf.